Welcome to truly scary South Korean horror stories. Smash like and subscribe to tread the thin line between reality and the surreal. Let's begin our eerie expedition. Under the relentless Seoul skyline, amidst towering symbols of academic prowess and neon promises, Junho trudged his way through a sea of students. His shoulders, hunched under the weight of textbooks and expectations, mirrored the oppressive atmosphere of Daehan High School. Here, success wasn't just celebrated, it was a requisite for survival. Junho, with his medium-length hair always a bit too unruly for school standards, and a uniform worn with a carelessness that spoke of his inner turmoil, was an average student in a sea of geniuses. By the end of the term, his middling grades felt like a heavy chain around his neck, pulling him deeper into the abyss of inadequacy. His friends, including the bright-eyed and artistically gifted Hae-jin and the ever-charismatic Min-seok, shared in this silent struggle against the crushing waves of academic expectations. It was during one of their late-night study sessions at a local cafe that Min-seok, always the adventurer, revealed a hastily scribbled note he'd found tucked in the oldest section of the school library. "The room that grants success," it read, cryptic yet eerily inviting. The trio, driven by a mix of desperation and the tantalizing promise of academic excellence, decided to seek it out. Under the cover of night, their hearts pounding with a cocktail of excitement and apprehension, they discovered the hidden classroom. Pushing open the creaky door revealed a space forgotten by time, desks layered with dust, a chalkboard still bearing the faint marks of lessons long past, and an atmosphere charged with an inexplicable energy. It was here, amidst the whispers of the past, that they encountered the entity. It promised them success, the very thing they were starving for, but at a cost. "Sacrifice something of yourselves," it hissed, its voice echoing off the walls, "and the path to excellence shall be yours." In the moment, the request seemed a mere trifle compared to the allure of top grades and fulfilled expectations. Their initial skepticism faded as swiftly as their first sacrifices, a memory here, an inconsequential emotion there. When their grades began to climb, the temptation of the room's promise ensnared them completely. They celebrated their newfound success, ignoring the niggling doubt that whispered of consequences untold. However, the transformation was subtle at first. Hae-jin, who could once lose herself for hours in the swirls of paint and the dance of her brush, began to view her art with a cold detachment. Where once there was passion, now there lay a void. Junho watched, helpless, as the light in her eyes dimmed. The art that adorned her room, once vibrant and alive, now seemed like relics of a person she no longer remembered. The change in Hae-jin, more than anything, became the haunting melody of doubt that played incessantly in Junho's mind. As his grades improved, the cost of their pact with the shadowy presence in the hidden classroom became painfully clear. The sacrifices were not trivial. They were pieces of their souls, chips off the very essence that made them who they were. In their quest for academic success, they had gambled far more than they realized, stepping into a game where the stakes were their identities. As the realization took hold, Junho faced a choice: continue on this path to hollow victory, or confront the dark heart of the bargain they had struck. His decision would set them on a collision course with forces beyond their understanding, in a battle for their very selves. As the days melded into a monotonous cycle of classes and study sessions, the transformations within the group grew more evident, more alarming. Min-seok, once the life of every gathering with his easy laughter and sharp wit, now approached his studies with a single-minded obsession that brooked no distraction. His relentless pursuit of perfection severed the bonds of camaraderie that had once held them together. He became a shadow, his presence a cold reminder of the pact's inexorable toll. Junho, witnessing these changes from the sidelines, grappled with a burgeoning sense of unease. The classroom, once a secret haven promising the allure of success, now felt like a macabre trap, snaring them within its sinister embrace. It was during one particularly silent study session in the library, the tension palpable in the air, that Junho saw the true extent of Min-seok's transformation. Where passion and enthusiasm once resided, now laid a mechanical drive devoid of joy or satisfaction. The realization struck Junho hard. They were losing themselves to an insatiable beast, their identities the fodder for its relentless hunger. The starkness of Min-Sok's transformation ignited a fierce determination within Junho. The sight of his friend, reduced to a husk in pursuit of an unreachable ideal, was a catalyst, compelling him to confront the daunting reality of their situation. It was a sobering moment of clarity in which the true cost of their academic accolades became painfully evident. Haunted by the specter of what he and Hai-Jin could become if they continued down this path, Junho retreated into himself, wrestling with his conflicting desires. In the quiet solitude of his room, surrounded by the tangible reminders of his and his friends' sacrifices, he faced his darkest fears. The realization that the pursuit of excellence had led them to barter away their essence was a bitter pill to swallow. But with this realization came a newfound resolve. Junho plotted a course of action, despite the uncertainty that cloaked it. He understood that to break free from the oppressive grip of the hidden classroom, a sacrifice far greater than any they had previously made was required. With a heart heavy with the weight of his decision, he reached out to his remaining friends, those not yet wholly lost to the classroom's curse. Under the guise of the night, they gathered in the deserted parts of the school, the memory of their initial excitement now a ghostly echo of the past. Together, they hatched a plan, fueled by desperation and the slim hope of reclaiming their stolen futures. Junho, armed with the knowledge of their impending confrontation, prepared to face the entity within the classroom. It was a gamble, pitting their resolve against a malevolent force that had already taken so much from them. But the stakes were too high, and the alternative, a life void of the very essence that made them human, was a price too grim to contemplate. As they set their plan into motion, the shadowy halls of the school seemed to watch, silent witnesses to their rebellion. Within this hallowed institution, where the pursuit of excellence reigned supreme, a battle for the soul was about to unfold. A battle not just against the entity that dwelled in the hidden classroom, but against the unseen forces that governed their lives, demanding sacrifice in exchange for success. The night of the confrontation was shrouded in an uneasy silence, a quiet so profound it felt like a premonition. Junho led the weary group to the hidden classroom, its door now more ominous than inviting. As they stepped inside, the air thickened, charged with an unseen energy that seemed to pulse with malevolence. Facing the entity within the classroom, Junho felt the full weight of their journey pressing down upon him. The room, a once neutral vessel for their ambitions, now appeared as a grotesque mockery of academia, its walls seeming to close in on them. The entity, a shadowy figure of swirling darkness, awaited their challenge with a sinister patience. Junho, summoning every ounce of courage, presented his sacrifice, the acceptance letter to Korea's top university. The paper, once a symbol of ultimate achievement and the key to a future bright with promise, now served a new purpose. As he offered it to the entity, he realized the true essence of their pact, not just the exchange of their souls for academic success, but a lesson in the harrowing cost of unwavering ambition. The entity, sensing the significance of the sacrifice, howled in a mix of rage and desperation. The classroom trembled as if caught in the throes of an unseen storm. Amidst the chaos, Junho and his friends enacted their plan. Utilizing their knowledge, skills, and the few remnants of their original selves, they trapped the entity within the confines of the very contract that had bound them. With a final, concerted effort, they shattered the entity's hold on the classroom and, by extension, on their lives. The destruction of the room was cataclysmic, a detonation of spiritual and emotional energy that left them staggering but free. The pact was broken, but the victory was bittersweet. The classroom lay in ruins, a testament to their ordeal, its promises and perils forever silenced. In the aftermath, Junho and his friends navigated the remnants of their fractured existence. The consequences of their pact lingered, an indelible mark on their souls. Yet amidst the loss and regret, there was a glimmer of hope. They had confronted their demons, tangible and otherwise, emerging scarred but resilient. Months later, under the tender glow of spring, Junho stood in a small, cozy art gallery, a world away from the shadowed confines of the hidden classroom. Hai-Jin's art adorned the walls, vibrant and soulful, a testament to her journey back to herself. Watching her move through the gallery, a radiant figure reconnected with her passion, Junho felt a profound sense of pride and love. This final scene, nestled within the embrace of healing and renewal, spoke volumes of their journey. It was a poignant reminder of the cost of their desires, the sacrifices made, and the lessons learned. In the end, they understood that true success lay not in accolades or achievements, but in the integrity of their essence, the preservation of their identities, and the strength of their bonds. The room that had promised them everything had taken much, but, in its destruction, had given them an invaluable gift, the knowledge of their worth beyond the narrow corridors of academic success. In the heart of Seoul, nestled among towering skyscrapers bathed in the glow of neon lights, Jinsu's eyes were fixed on his computer screen, the only source of light in the dimly lit room. The air was thick with anticipation and a hint of caffeine, as empty coffee cups littered his desk. His fingers danced across the keyboard with a fervor known only to those who chase dreams that flirt with the edges of reality. Jinsu and his team were on the cusp of completing a technological marvel, a virtual reality game that promised to immerse players in the Korean War's harrowing history like never before. Amid his meticulous search for authentic material, Jinsu stumbled upon a set of encrypted military files buried deep within an old archive. With a mix of curiosity and an unyielding desire to elevate the game's authenticity, he began decrypting the files, unaware that he was about to unlock more than just historical accounts. The clock on his computer flickered to 3 a.m., marking the moment his world would start to blend with echoes of the past, unfettered by time. The following day, the team gathered in their cluttered yet vibrant office space, a stark contrast to the archive's solitude. Jinsu presented the decrypted files, his excitement palpable. The team marveled at the depth of realism these files would add to their game. They immediately integrated the data into the game's framework, eager to see their creation come to life. Soon after the beta version of the game was released, reports began surfacing from players experiencing vivid, unsettling hallucinations that mirrored the Korean War's brutality. Initial disbelief turned to intrigue, prompting Jinsu to witness the phenomenon firsthand. Inviting a group of beta testers to their office, they observed through glass walls as players, draped in VR gear, ventured into the digital war-torn Korea. It wasn't long before one player screamed, ripping off the headset, his face ghostly pale as he described witnessing a battle scene so real it felt like stepping through time. Jinsu watched, a mixture of skepticism and intrigue swirling within. This event marked the first direct encounter with what lay beyond those encrypted files, a hint of the supernatural veiled as digital artifacts. The true unnerving acknowledgement of these phenomena came unexpectedly one evening as the development team worked late. The office, usually buzzing with creative energy, fell into a stifling silence. Screens flickered, and the air turned cold. Before their eyes, the office transformed, the edges of reality blurring as the sound of distant artillery fire echoed around them. Each member witnessed the same hallucination, a ghostly battlefield sprawling across the open-plan office space. This collective experience shattered any lingering skepticism, binding the team together in their quest to unravel the mystery of the haunted military files. This shared encounter with the supernatural marked a turning point for Jinsu and his team. It was a tangible merging of past and present, a chilling confirmation that their game had become a conduit for something far beyond a simple digital experience. As the echoing sounds of war faded, leaving behind a heavy silence, Jinsu realized the depth of the journey they had unwittingly embarked upon. What began as a quest for authenticity in a virtual reality game had evolved into an unexpected exploration of a spectral world, hungry to tell its story. The team stood at the threshold of the unknown, their resolve tested, as they pondered the next steps on this unforeseen path. In the aftermath of their unsettling encounter, the team assembled around a cluttered table, the air thick with tension and unspoken fears. Miyeon, her usually composed features drawn tight with concern, laid out a plan with the precision of a seasoned strategist. "We need to approach this logically," she insisted, pushing her glasses up the bridge of her nose. There's a connection between the files and these events. We have to understand it. Her voice, steady and rational, offered a beacon of sanity amidst the chaos. Jinsu found solace in Miyon's approach, her ability to analyze situations with detachment, providing a counterbalance to his growing obsession. Together, they delved into the origins of the encrypted military files, each document, each photograph, bringing them closer to the heart of the darkness that had invaded their reality. Hyun-woo, the team's skeptic, struggled with the unfolding events. Known for his light-hearted demeanor, the weight of their situation pressed heavily upon him. His laughter, once a constant in their office, had dwindled to an uneasy silence since the encounter. Yet it was his voice that cut through the tension that day. "We've got to face this head-on," he said, his usual smirk replaced by a grim determination. "If these spirits are reaching out, let's find out why." Driven by Hyun-woo's unexpected resolve, the team intensified their research, their investigation leading them to a dusty, forgotten corner of a public library. Amidst ancient tomes and whispered secrets, they discovered the tragic tale of a hidden massacre, a chapter of history so gruesome it had been buried in the shadows of official narratives. With each detail uncovered, Jinsu and Miyeon felt a deepening connection to the spirits calling out from their VR creation. These were not mere digital glitches or artifacts. They were echoes of souls denied peace. The knowledge of the massacre forged a new resolve within the team. What began as a quest for understanding had transformed into a mission of remembrance and reconciliation. Jinsu, Miyeon, and Hyun-woo, once mere game developers, now saw themselves as custodians of a story that demanded to be told. Under the dim light of the library, surrounded by the whispers of 1,000 untold tales, Jinsu realized the true scope of their journey. They were no longer just chasing shadows, they were illuminating the darkest corners of history, giving voice to those silenced by the passage of time. The weight of this responsibility settled over them, a solemn pact forged in the quiet of that library to bring peace to the restless spirits that had breached the veil between worlds. As they left the library, the setting sun cast long shadows on their path, a reminder of the darkness they sought to dispel and the light of truth they aimed to shine. With the haunting knowledge of the massacre weighing heavily on their souls, Jinsu, Miyeon, and Hyun-woo returned to their sanctuary of technology and creativity, now a beacon of hope for the restless spirits they had inadvertently disturbed. The team worked with a newfound purpose, their skills and dedication channeled into transforming their game into a vessel for healing and remembrance. As they prepared for the most daring phase of their journey, Jinsu stood before the digital landscape they had created, a virtual world that had become all too real. With the support of Miyeon and Hyun-woo, they initiated a shamanistic ritual within the game, an ancient practice intertwined with modern technology, a bridge across worlds. The air around them vibrated with unseen energy as they called out to the spirits, offering peace and passage. The ritual, a dance of light and shadow cast across the digital terrain, reached its climax as the spirits of the massacre victims materialized before them. Jinsu, Miyeon, and Hyun-woo, locked in a circle of unity, faced the apparitions with a blend of fear and determination. Through the virtual interface, they communicated their intentions, their heartfelt apologies for the suffering endured, and their commitment to honoring the forgotten souls. As the final words of the ritual were spoken, a palpable sense of release filled the air. The spirits, their faces mirroring decades of anguish, began to fade, their forms dissolving into the digital ether. The team watched, tears mingling with relief, as the last remnants of the spirits vanished, a silent acknowledgement of peace finally achieved. The game's release day arrived with a quiet anticipation. Jinsu, Miyeon, and Hyun-woo stood before a gathered crowd, not as creators flaunting their latest entertainment, but as storytellers bearing witness to history's echoes. The game, once a mere project for career advancement, was now a monument to the souls of the massacre, an educational tool that transcended boundaries of reality and time. As players around the world explored the virtual landscapes crafted with such care, they encountered the stories of the spirits, each narrative a testament to the horrors of war and the resilience of the human spirit. The game's impact was profound. stirring a collective awakening to the importance of remembrance and reconciliation. Jinsu, Miyeon, and Hyunwoo watched from the sidelines, their journey from ambitious developers to guardians of the past complete. The game had become a bridge between the living and the spirits, between history and the present, a reminder that the past, no matter how painful, must be acknowledged and honored. As the sun set on the day of the release, casting a golden glow over Seoul, Jinsu looked to the horizon, a sense of peace in his heart. They had ventured into the unknown, faced the echoes of war, and emerged with a profound understanding of their role in healing the wounds of history. The game was more than a technological achievement. It was a beacon of hope, a call to remember and to heal. In the quiet of the evening, Jinsu, Miyeon, and Hyunwoo shared a moment of silence, a tribute to the journey they had undertaken and the souls they had helped to find peace. In the heart of Seoul, amidst the cacophony of city life and the shadows of towering skyscrapers, lies a narrow, unassuming building that one could easily miss if not looking for it. This building, a gosiwon, home to dozens of cramped, tiny rooms, has long been a refuge for those who seek nothing but to immerse themselves in their studies, away from the distractions of the outside world. It was here that Ji-hoon, a young man of 22, decided to make his stand against the gauntlet of exams that stood between him and his future. Ji-hoon arrived on a chilly evening, his life packed into a couple of worn-out bags. He looked up at the gosiwon, its windows flickering with the blue light of late-night study sessions, and felt a mixture of apprehension and hope. This was it, his chosen battlefield. As he crossed the threshold, he couldn't shake off the feeling of stepping into another world, one that whispered of untold stories and hidden truths. The landlord, an elderly woman with a face marked by the sternness of years, handed him the key to his room. 203, she said, her voice carrying a hint of something Ji-hoon couldn't quite place. Study well, but remember, rest is as important as work. Her eyes lingered on him for a moment longer than necessary before she turned away, leaving Ji-hoon standing in the dimly lit hallway, the echoes of her warning mingling with the quiet hum of fluorescent lights. Room 203 was as he expected, barely enough space for a desk, a small bed, and a closet. The wallpaper, tinged yellow with age, peeled at the corners, and the single window looked out onto a narrow alley. Yet Ji-hoon felt a sense of relief wash over him as he unpacked. The room, with all its imperfections, was his sanctuary, a place where he could devote himself entirely to his studies without interruption. The first few nights passed in a blur of textbooks, notes, and the soft glow of his desk lamp. But it wasn't long before Ji-hoon noticed the peculiarities of his new home. It started with the sounds, a faint scratching that seemed to come from the walls, whispers in the hallway when no one was around, and the inexplicable feeling of being watched. Despite the disturbances, Ji-hoon pressed on, determined not to be swayed by what he convinced himself were products of his overworked mind. It was during one of his rare breaks, a stroll around the university campus to clear his head, that he ran into Min-soo, a friend from his undergraduate days. Min-soo, with his easy smile and relaxed demeanor, was the polar opposite of Ji-hoon. He listened with a concerned frown as Ji-hoon recounted his experiences at the gosiwon. "You need to get out more," Min-soo chided gently, clapping a hand on Ji-hoon's shoulder. "All work and no play, you know. Why don't you join me and some friends for dinner tonight?" Ji-hoon hesitated, torn between the comforting routine of his studies and the gnawing sense of isolation that had begun to settle in his chest. It took a moment, but eventually he nodded, a small smile breaking through the fog of his exhaustion. Perhaps Min-soo was right. Maybe what he needed was a brief escape from the confines of his room and the growing unease that seemed tethered to it. As they walked back together, laughing and sharing stories, Ji-hoon felt the weight on his shoulders lighten. For the first time since moving into the gosiwon, he allowed himself to look beyond the narrow focus of his exams, to the possibility of a life filled with more than just the pursuit of success. Little did he know, the shadows of room 203 and its secrets were only beginning to stir, ready to pull him back into the depths of a story far darker than any he could have imagined. Ji-hoon returned to the gosiwon later that night, his spirits lifted from the evening's respite. It was a rare feeling these days to laugh freely and forget the burden of his ambitions, if only for a few hours. As he climbed the narrow stairs to his room, he noted the silence of the building, a stark contrast to the lively streets outside. Back in room 203, surrounded by the familiar clutter of his studies, Ji-hoon felt a sense of unease creep back in. He tried to shake off the feeling, attributing it to the jarring transition from the night's merriment back to his solitary confinement. However, as he prepared for another long night of study, a peculiar discovery arrested his attention. Wedged at the back of a drawer that had previously refused to open fully was a small leather-bound diary. It was old, the edges of its pages yellowed and brittle. Intrigued, Ji-hoon opened it, expecting perhaps to find the musings of a former tenant, a peek into the life of another soul who had once sought refuge in the confines of room 203. Instead, what he found sent a chill down his spine. The diary contained the desperate scrawls of a young woman, its pages filled with accounts of harrowing nightmares, voices whispering in the dark, and a pervasive sense of being watched. Most unsettling, though, were her references to a room in the Gossewan that didn't exist, a place she felt inexplicably drawn to, one that seemed to embody all her fears and anxieties. The entries grew increasingly disjointed towards the end, the handwriting shaky, as if penned by a hand gripped by terror. The final entry was simply a date, ominously circled several times. Sleep eluded Ji-hoon that night, the diary's contents festering in his mind. By morning, his curiosity, mingled with a growing sense of dread, compelled him to seek out the landlady, the elderly woman who seemed to hold the building's secrets in her stern gaze. He found her in the dimly lit reception area, her back to him as she watered a row of plants that seemed to strain towards the scant light from the window. "Excuse me," Ji-hoon began, hesitantly. "I found this diary in my room." He held it out to her. "It mentions strange things, and a room that doesn't exist?" The landlady turned slowly, her expression unreadable. For a moment, she regarded him silently, then took the diary, her fingers tracing its worn cover. "Yes, I'm aware of it," she finally spoke, her voice carrying a weight that made Ji-hoon's skin crawl. "Many have stayed in that room, lost in their pursuit of success driven by fears and pressures. But you," she fixed him with a look that bore into his very soul, "must not let it consume you. Be mindful of what you chase after, lest you find yourself ensnared by it." "But what is it?" Ji-hoon pressed, a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. "What happened to her, the one who wrote this?" The landlady sighed, a sound laden with sorrow and resignation. "She was like you once, full of dreams, of aspirations, but she delved too deeply into the Gossewan's shadows, seeking answers to questions better left unasked." With that cryptic warning, she handed the diary back to Ji-hoon, turning away, her actions a clear dismissal. Ji-hoon stood there for a moment longer, the diary heavy in his hands, before retreating to the solitude of room 203. The landlady's words echoed in his mind, mingling with the diary's haunting entries, weaving a tapestry of fear and mystery that Ji-hoon could no longer ignore. The Gossewan, with its narrow halls and close-packed rooms, had begun to feel like a labyrinth, one that might just hold a dark heart at its center, beckoning to him with whispers from the shadows. In the days that followed, Ji-hoon's obsession with the diary and the mystery of the non-existent room grew. He pored over the diary's entries, piecing together the fragmented clues and mapping out the layout of the Gossewan in an attempt to find any inconsistency, any secret passage that might lead to the truth. However, his single-minded pursuit began to take its toll. Ji-hoon neglected his studies, his health, and even Min-soo, who became increasingly worried about his friend's deteriorating state. Despite Min-soo's efforts to reach out, Ji-hoon became more isolated, convinced that he was close to uncovering something monumental. The tension between them reached a breaking point one evening. Min-soo, exasperated and concerned, confronted Ji-hoon in his room. "This isn't you, Ji-hoon," he pleaded, gesturing to the scattered notes in the diary that had become Ji-hoon's constant companion. "You're losing yourself in this madness." Ji-hoon, frazzled and defensive, argued that he was on the verge of a breakthrough, that the diary held the key to understanding the Gossewan's dark secret. Their argument escalated until Min-soo, realizing his words were only driving Ji-hoon further away, left the room in frustration and worry. Left alone, Ji-hoon sank into a deep despair, questioning his own sanity and purpose. The Gosewon, once a place of refuge, now felt like a prison, its walls echoing with the whispered fears and anxieties of its past and present occupants. In his darkest moment, a revelation struck Ji-hoon. The diary, the Gosewon, the non-existent room, they weren't just puzzles to be solved. They were reflections of his own fears, the fear of failure, of not living up to expectations, of being consumed by the pressures that had defined his life. With a newfound resolve, Ji-hoon decided it was time to confront the heart of the Gosewon's haunting. He ventured into the building's depths, guided by the diary's cryptic entries and his own intuition. What he found was not a hidden room, but a space that felt suspended in time and reality, a manifestation of the collective fears and anxieties of the Gosewon's residents. There, Ji-hoon came face to face with the ghostly presence that had haunted the diary's author, a mirror of his own deepest fears. In this climactic confrontation, Ji-hoon realized that the only way to break the cycle was to confront and accept his fears, to acknowledge that his worth was not defined by his academic success or societal expectations. With a cathartic release of emotion, Ji-hoon faced the presence, his voice steady as he spoke words of acceptance and defiance. The haunting, faced with the strength of Ji-hoon's resolve, dissipated, leaving behind a sense of peace and clarity. Ji-hoon emerged from the Gosewon a changed man. He reconciled with Min-soo, expressing his gratitude for his friend's unyielding support. Together, they decided to embark on a new journey, one not dictated by societal pressures, but shaped by their own aspirations and dreams. As Ji-hoon left the Gosewon for the last time, he glanced back at the building that had been both his prison and his crucible. In its quiet, unassuming way, it stood as a testament to the countless others who had walked its halls, each carrying their own fears and dreams. The story closes with a new resident moving into room 203, a young woman with dreams and aspirations of her own. The cycle might begin anew, but Ji-hoon's story serves as a reminder that the specters that haunt us are often those of our own making, born from the pressures we place upon ourselves. In confronting these specters, we find the strength to break free and forge our own path.
Under the neon glow of Seoul's ever-bustling streets, Hae-jin maneuvered through the throng of pedestrians, her thoughts ensnared by the cacophony of the city and the weight of upcoming exams. Despite the chill in the air, the city seemed to pulse with warmth, generated by the throngs of people and the vibrant light emanating from screens large and small. It was a typical evening, one where Hae-jin found comfort in the routine chaos of her city. Action beat 1. Setting: a cozy cafe frequented by college students enveloped in the soft hum of whispered conversations and the aromatic embrace of coffee. Character, emotions, and motivations. Hae-jin, feeling the pressure of her responsibilities and the social isolation bred from a lifestyle heavily reliant on digital interactions, seeks a brief respite among her friends. Outcome: in the cafe, amidst laughter and shared complaints about university life, Min-jun introduces the EchoBack app, presenting it as a quirky novelty. This curiosity ignites a flicker of intrigue in Hae-jin, who prides herself on her skepticism and technical prowess. The app, designed with a retro aesthetic, promises a unique journey into the past, offering a break from their digitally saturated present. As Hae-jin, Min-jun, and Soo-yeon huddle around the glowing screen of Min-jun's phone, they dive headfirst into the world of EchoBack. Initially, it appears nothing more than a simple nostalgia-driven application, a digital haven from their high-speed world. Action beat 2. Setting: Hae-jin's small, cluttered dorm room, walls adorned with notes and programming books scattered about. Character, emotions, and motivations. With curiosity piqued, Hae-jin dives into EchoBack alone. Her skepticism drives her to understand how the app operates, expecting to uncover some algorithmic trick. Outcome: Hae-jin receives her first personal prediction from EchoBack, a warning about a spilled cup of coffee. She chuckles at this, viewing it as a coincidental programming gimmick. However, her amusement transforms into bewilderment when, moments later, she clumsily tips over her coffee mug, soaking her notes. This incident plants the first seed of genuine curiosity and unease in her mind. The specificity of the event, tied so closely to the app's prediction, blurs the line between coincidence and something inexplicably more. Action Beat 3. A bustling university library, an oasis of silence amidst the urban clamor, where serious faces are illuminated by the soft light of desk lamps. Character emotions and motivations. Still rattled by the morning's occurrence and fueled by a mix of trepidation and an insatiable need for answers, Hyjin seeks to test the app's limits, to prove to herself it's just clever coding. Outcome. Hyjin challenges Echoback with a question about her upcoming exam, seeking a prediction. The app cryptically advises her to focus on a topic she had neglected. Initially dismissing it, curiosity eventually leads her to re-examine the suggested material, only to find it comprises a significant portion of her exam. This revelation sends a shiver down her spine, transitioning her skepticism into a cautious fear. The app was no longer a mere source of entertainment. It was a puzzle that whispered of depth far beyond what she had anticipated. The sun had long set, leaving only the artificial day of the city's lights when Hyjin returned to the solitude of her room. She sat, her gaze lost to the midnight skyline, pondering the implications of Echoback's uncanny accuracy. In the city's heart, she felt an unusual chill, a harbinger of the unraveling mystery that lay ahead. Action Beat 4. Setting. The university's sprawling green campus, alive with the buzz of students transitioning between classes. Hyejin, Minjin, and Suyeon convene on a bench under the dappled light of early fall leaves, a temporary refuge from their academic obligations. Character emotions and motivations. Encased in a bubble of their own, they share their experiences with Echoback, each story tinged with awe and an underlying current of anxiety. Hyjin, driven by a blend of fear and fascination, feels compelled to disclose her encounters, seeking both validation and a shared sense of concern. Outcome. The friends agree to delve deeper into Echoback's mysteries, setting the stage for a collective investigation. Despite their growing apprehension, the human desire to solve the puzzle before them outweighs the trepidation. Their shared experience solidifies their bond, but also ensnares them further into Echoback's digital web. Action Beat 5 setting. The dimly lit confines of an old, almost forgotten university computer lab, where the hum of aged machines fills the air. Hyjin, Minjin, and Suyeon, huddled around a terminal, their faces ghostly in its glow, begin their foray into breaking Echoback's enigma. Character emotions and motivations. Hyjin takes the lead, her proficiency with code guiding their efforts. The trio is motivated by a blend of recklessness and the thrill that comes from confronting the unknown. They seek to dismantle the mystery from the inside, harnessing their collective knowledge and the resources at their disposal. Outcome. Their initial attempts to deconstruct and understand Echoback's workings are met with dead ends and more questions. They uncover layers of complex code intertwined with symbols and references that hint at shamanistic rituals, deepening the mystery rather than elucidating it. This discovery sends a chill through the group, the realization that they're not merely dealing with advanced technology, but something that may very well be beyond their comprehension. Action Beat 6. Setting. A secluded corner of the university library, now transformed into their makeshift command center. Papers strewn about detail ancient Korean shamanistic practices, juxtaposed against on advanced coding and artificial intelligence. Character emotions and motivations. The trio is caught in a mix of exhilaration and dread. Hyjin, ever the skeptic, is forced to confront the real possibility that Echoback is more than an elaborate hoax or a piece of sophisticated software. The fear of the unknown gnaws at them, yet the desire to uncover the truth, to protect themselves and possibly others, propels them forward. Outcome. As they dive deeper into their research, connecting dots between the digital and the spiritual, a predictive message from Echoback arrives, chillingly personal and threatening. It speaks of a coming ordeal, one that threatens to tear at the fabric of their reality. This message galvanizes them, shifting their quest from one of curiosity to a desperate fight against an entity that defies the boundaries of their understanding. In the shadowed silence of the library, with the weight of their discovery pressing down on them, Heejin, Minjun, and Suyeon share a look of mutual resolve. The game has changed, morphing into a battle of wits against an unseen adversary, operating from the gray space between worlds. As the pieces begin to fall into place, they realize that Echo Back might not only alter their perceptions of reality, but could very well shape its fabric. The digital whispers had grown into a roar, threatening to engulf them in its echoes as they stand on the precipice of a revelation that could either be their salvation or their undoing. Action Beat 7. Setting: the small, cluttered living space of Haijin's dorm room, now turned into a makeshift war room. The tension is palpable as the room buzzes with a desperate energy. Charts, diagrams, and ancient texts are scattered about, a testament to their frantic search for answers. Character emotions and motivations. With the realization of Echo Back's sinister capabilities hanging over them, Haijin, Minjun, and Suyeon are driven by a mix of fear and determination. The digital specter that looms over them has become personal, intertwining their fates with the app's mysterious origins. Outcome: the trio discovers a potential means to confront Echo Back's entity, grounded in a combination of shamanistic rituals and modern digital countermeasures. This precarious plan hinges on trapping the entity in a digital echo chamber, a reflection of its own mechanisms. It's a desperate gamble, but one that offers a glimmer of hope in their seemingly unwinnable battle. Action Beat 8. Setting: the dark, solemn interior of an abandoned warehouse, chosen for its isolation. The air is charged with anticipation, a stark contrast to the mundanity of its surroundings. The only light comes from the glow of their equipment, casting long shadows that seem to dance with the growing tension. Character emotions and motivations. The atmosphere is heavy with the weight of the unknown. Haijin, Minjun, and Suyeon prepare to enact their plan, each grappling with the possibility of failure. The fear of the unknown, of what lies beyond the digital veil, is a heavy shadow upon their resolve. Outcome: with meticulous precision, they execute the ritual, intertwining code and ancient chants. The digital world and the spiritual collide in a moment of intense energy, the air itself seeming to pulse with unseen forces. The app responds, its presence making the equipment flicker and whine, a physical manifestation of its resistance. The battle of wills waged through both digital and arcane means reaches a crescendo. Action Beat 9. Setting: the aftermath of their confrontation. The warehouse now eerily silent, the tension dissipated like a storm passing. The trio stands amid their technological battleground, weary but vigilant, unsure of the outcome. Character emotions and motivations. They are overwhelmed by a mix of relief, disbelief, and the dawning realization of the cost of their endeavor. The silence is a bittersweet symphony to their ears, a marker of their victory, but the echoes of their actions linger in their minds. Outcome: they find Echo Back contained, its ability to influence reality seemingly halted. The entity, or what it channeled, is trapped within a closed digital loop, a mirror reflecting nothing but itself. Their plan, against all odds, appears to have succeeded. Ending: in the quiet that follows, as dawn begins to break over Seoul, the city awakens, oblivious to the night's events. Hyejin, Minjun, and Suyeon part ways, the bond forged in their shared ordeal a silent testament to their victory and loss. Haijin returns to her life, but the boundaries between what is real and what is digital have been irrevocably blurred. Echo Back remains dormant, a contained but constant reminder of what lies in the shadowy depths of the digital world. Haijin often finds herself gazing into her devices, wary of the slightest anomaly, the faintest whisper of Echo Back. She wonders about the cost of their victory, about the parts of herself left trapped in that digital echo chamber alongside the entity. The story closes on Haijin's unresolved gaze towards a future where the line between technology and spirituality has been permanently altered, leaving the audience with a lingering unease about the unseen forces that may still lurk within the depths of their digital reflections.